Good morning, afternoon, evening, everybody. My name is Virginia Cooper. I am the external advisor for the Diverse Intelligences Initiative at the Templeton Rural Charity Foundation, and I will be leading this webinar. In this capacity, I advise the foundation on programmatic activities for diverse intelligences. I don't make any decisions on behalf of the foundation. I am just here as a guide, and I am here to support you with this webinar. Joining me is Andrika Smith-Monroe, who is a program associate with the foundation, and Sherelle Carroll, who is our comms manager. And they will be assisting me. They may be answering questions in the chat and just having engagement in the chat with you guys as I walk through the process. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen and we will jump right into it. Okay. Hopefully everybody can see my screen. So we're here to talk about our newest funding opportunity, which is the Templeton Emerging Scholars Fellowship Program in Diverse Intelligences. And so this is an informational webinar for this funding opportunity. If you're not here for this funding opportunity, you are in the wrong place. But if this is what you came for, here we go. So just an overview of what we plan to do. We plan to go over the opportunity overview where we'll talk about the aims, the components, the value, those things. Then we will walk through the process and eligibility requirements. And then finally, we will have an extended Q&A. We really want to answer questions that may have not been clear or that you're not sure of. So we want to have an extended Q&A. We do have the Q&A function enabled. And so you can start adding questions at any point in this webinar as you please. Either Andrika will be able to respond to it immediately, or the questions will be there at the end for me to respond to live. If you do ask a question in the chat, we will try our best to get to it, but we will prioritize the questions that are asked in the Q&A over questions that are asked in the chat. So if you want to be sure that your question is addressed, please add it to the Q&A. And so with that, we will just go ahead and jump right in. And so opportunity overview. So what is the Templeton Emerging Scholars Fellowship? So what this is, it's a 3-year champion-based fellowship program that supports early career academics nominated by senior researchers. And champion-based means exactly that the nominee or the fellow is nominated by senior members who are championing them, who feel that these people have a lot of potential and would benefit greatly from this opportunity. It has, it's valued at over $350,000 with $200K of unrestricted grant support for a project that can be up to 30 months. $20K for mentor honoraria over the 2 years. So how it works, and we'll get more into this, is that the first period is pre-award, where we're really building out and developing the grant. And then you have the active period. You have $100,000 in sub-awards, and these can be seed grants to others, as well as support for convening or a gathering and to attend a DI gathering. So there are 4 main components. It's mentorship built in because of the champion, the sub-awards, as we just mentioned, and these are opportunities for seed award funding to support collaborations related to your fellowship project. So the whole goal is that you have this big fellowship at the top, and you have these things, these components of it that all relate to the one goal you're trying to achieve. That's what the research support is for, and it's unrestricted. So this can be used for course buyouts. This can be used for material. This could be used for travel. It can be used for whatever you need to do your project well. And then lastly, networking and convening. So this Emerging Scholars Fellowship is directly involved and related to the Diverse Intelligences Initiative at the foundation. If you don't know, we have our website. We have a page. You can go and look at it. But hopefully, if you don't know one of your champions, you're either the other champion or the fellow, somebody knows about the DI initiative and can talk to you about it. But it really is to support and expand members of the DI community. So we want to bring more people into the DI community and expose them to the Diverse Intelligences group and the way that we believe we should be studying intelligences. And so the aims of the opportunity, there are three major aims for the foundation. First is we want to develop promising researchers. So we'll provide academics with some research support as well as training in areas of research leadership. And this includes science communication, collaboration, team leadership. And as we develop, this is an iterative process. As we develop, we will work with the fellows to learn what they feel like are the highest impact things that they want to develop in themselves, and really work with them to curate that. The second, of course, is to support innovative research. That's one of the most important parts, is that you do get research funding, substantial research funding that has very little restrictions. We do have our charter limitations that we can't, get rid of. But for the most part, it's very open. And the theme will have to be related to one of the four. You can look at the guidance document. They go into details on them around recognizing intelligences, which is looking at brilliance in the living world. It's looking at anything that could be intelligences, shaping human intelligences. So here we are trying to understand and cultivate human intelligence, whatever that may mean, be it, traditional intelligence, emotional intelligence, spiritual intelligences, any of these. Intelligence beyond biology, which has been focused on AI, robotics, augmented intelligences, and then WENS intelligences, which is really trying to look at where did intelligence come from? And so really trying to get a genetic understanding of how have we developed into, intelligent beings, and not just we as in humans, but we as in all organisms. And then lastly, it really is to expand the DI community. We want to have people who are involved in the DI community be able to share this opportunity with those outside of the community and be able to help propagate a new wave of researchers who can be intellectually humble, want to work in interdisciplinary settings, want to collaborate. And that's really what our hope and goals are for this. I must say that you can have a team of people who are all connected to DI. So you could have 2 fellows who are already a part of the DI initiative, and you can have a fellow who already knows about DI and has been a part of this community. That doesn't disqualify you. But we also would like to see, others be involved and invited into the community if you feel like they may be a good fit. So we'll just go into the process and eligibility. So understanding the process, this is a 2-step process. So the first process, which we're in now, what is live, is the nomination process. And that's open from now until March 4th. This is the period in time where everybody is trying to organize themselves into these pairs and this nominee so that they can nominate a fellow. At this stage, you will have the mentors or the champions who are doing most of the work. The second stage is the finalist selection and proposal development. So from the nominations, we select finalists who will then apply and develop a grant proposal with the foundation so that they have this as this is a grant that is in their name as the fellow. So we will review the nominations, we will select the finalists, and then we will work, we as in the foundation and myself, we will work with the nominee and at this point, the finalists will work with the fellow and their mentor team to really develop the strongest proposal that we can, and it will be decisioned before our committee in October. This is so that we can start all grant activity as early as January 1, 2026. And that's when the grant period itself would be, and this can run up to 30 months. All right, so here is just, we felt like it would be, because it's a lot of moving parts, we felt that it would be nice to have this kind of flow diagram to tell. So you can see the fellow side and the champion side. So when we look at the champion pair, you can see what is happening and who is responsible. So in the nomination process, the champion is responsible for submitting to TWCF. The fellow just is, support providing the information the champion requires and requests. Then it shifts where the primary responsibility after the nomination is on the fellow. So the fellow actually is the person that will be developing the proposal and submitting the proposal. They will be the person with the main direct contact to the foundation. At this point, the champion pair is just there to provide support and guidance as they develop their grant. And then lastly, it's the fellowship period. So after it's been approved by the foundation, you can carry out the fellow will then carry out the fellowship activities with mentorship, support, and guidance from their champions. So the champions are expected to be involved for the life of the fellow. We didn't put any restrictions or expectations on how the fellow and the champions work together. We do have a form that is the mentorship agreement form, which the fellow and the champions will work together to do. And in this, they should outline what the expectations are, what they hope to get out of it, how they plan to work together. And the reason that we did this is just to know that these 3 individuals are thinking about this for the next 2.5, 3 years. So eligibility. So we need to have, for the champion pair, we'll go through that first. At least one champion must be connected to the existing Diverse Intelligences Initiative and community. What this means is that one of the 2 people who are nominating somebody has to already know DI, understand what the foundation comes to expect from the type of research that's done in DI, as well as how the community interacts with each other. This is because we want to put this ethos of DI, of intellectual humility, of collaboration, of curiosity, that has been really pervasive through the DI community. We want to instill that in earlier career researchers. And so we want to, if assistant professors aren't aware, that we want this to be them. We want them to be these curious, bold, intellectually humble researchers. And so that's the reason why you have to already be a part of the DI community. Plus also, what kind of research we do and not in that space. The second is that both need to be tenured researchers, or if somebody has left academia. So it doesn't necessarily have to just be people who are still in academia, but if there's somebody who's left academia for whatever reason, they had to have had tenure prior to leaving. So whether they've retired, whether they've moved on to industry or whatever else, they had to have had tenure. Between the 2 champions, they must represent or be active in at least 2 disciplines. So that doesn't mean that each champion has to be in 2 disciplines. It just means that champion A and champion B have to both be representing different disciplines. So if one person is a comparative cognition person and the other person is a computational biologist, that's fine. That is 2. If one person happens to be a cognition person, a computational person, and the next person is a computational person, that is also fine, because there are at least 2 disciplines represented. It doesn't mean that you have to be in separate departments. We do know that some departments have broad reach and may have multiple different disciplines under one department. Like psychology is a good example. You may have one psych department that has clinical psychology, that has comparative psychology, that has personality psychology. And these, in my opinion, are all different disciplines, but they all are in one department. So we're not limiting it to one department. We also are not limiting it to everybody has to be at the same institution. You can be at multiple institutions. So one person can be at institution A, somebody at institution B, somebody at institution C. So nobody has to be at the same institution, or everybody can be at the same institution. We're not putting any restrictions on that. And then lastly, with the champion, we want people who are motivated to mentor and support emerging scholars. So that's the point of it. So, we don't want you to nominate somebody and then ignore them for 2 years. We do want you to have interest and excitement to really help guide your junior colleagues. For the nominees, we are looking for assistant professors or global equivalent who are pre-tenure or within the first 6 active years of their position. So what this means is, it doesn't matter how long you've been an assistant professor. If you're still an assistant professor pre-tenure, you qualify. If you are an associate professor because you're just really, really good, and you've gotten to that place within 6 years, you can still qualify. So scenario 1, you've been an assistant professor pre-tenure for 7 years, you qualify. If you are now an associate professor and you've only been an associate professor for a year, but you've been an assistant professor for 4 years, that means that it's been under 5 years as an associate professor, you still qualify as well. And this is active. So if for any reason you had to take a break in your academic journey, be it for parenting reason, be it for sickness, be it for whatever, we understand that this is a part of the journey. And so we will only consider the active year. So if you are an associate professor and you've been through academia for more than 6 years, but you took a break, we will take those years out and you can qualify. The second thing, you cannot have been a PhD student of either Champion, and you cannot have been a postdoc or direct employee of either Champion within the last 2 years. And so the reason that we did this is we just are considerate of the dynamics. We do know that when it comes to PhD students, or in particular your first postdoc, there is still kind of like almost like more of a guardianship, it kind of feels like. So, you know, a lot of times when it comes to those groups of people, the mentor may feel more like an academic parent versus an academic big sister or big brother. And we're hoping that we focus more on the dynamic of an academic big brother and big sister who gives guidance and helps you along the way, but doesn't feel like they're responsible for, you know, making sure you go in that direction, if that makes sense. So we've limited so that you cannot be the postdoc or direct employee or the PhD student, because we don't want the champions to be handing down directives to the fellow and telling them how they should do everything, but it should be the fellow that really is and has ownership of their fellowship. Then we want to make sure that they conduct research related to the themes of this call. That's pretty self-explanatory. We will not be considering any proposals that come through that are not related to any of those themes. And you have to be interested in collaboration and interdisciplinary research. Again, really self-explanatory, but we do hope that you can engage in multidisciplinary, interdisciplinary, and cross-disciplinary research. That's a really big focus for us in this initiative. And we really want to cultivate that and curate that. And so as we work through the fellowship, we will be having opportunities where we encourage and promote and develop activities for collaboration and interdisciplinary efforts. And so we don't want to waste our efforts if you're not interested in that type of work. So we will be really considering those who show an appetite and an interest for collaboration and interdisciplinary research. And then lastly, we want you to remain, so we hope that you intend to remain at your institution for the life of the fellowship of the grant. And a big part of this is really just for our administrative capabilities. To move a grant from one institution to the next is a lot of work. And so we are trying our best to limit that. So, and plus, if you're pre-tenure somewhere, you probably want to stay there. So we are asking that you, at this moment, intend to remain at the institution for the fellowship of the grant. If you do see yourself moving by before January 1, we'll allow that because we can contract with a new institution. But if you start the project at an institution, we would hope that you remain at that institution through the life of the project. We do get that things happen, so we will be looking at case-by-case basis at that time. But at this moment, we hope that you will be planning on remaining at your institution for at least the next 3 years. And so now we'll just do a quick run through of the portal. And this is for the champion. So this will be for the champions to complete and to sign up and log in. If you are a fellow and you've logged into this, stop doing things because you cannot submit. You cannot submit on behalf of the champion. The champion has to do the submission. And so we'll just open this up. Open this up really quickly. Okay, so I'm just gonna sign in. 2, 3, 4. Okay, so this is our portal. Here you go. If you're a new champion, you will have to sign up. If you are a returning champion, you can just log in. If you forgot your password, we also have that note for forgot your password. Hopefully I didn't forget my password. Yeah, and so when you log in, it's a very, very simple form. We designed it to be very simple. We've we link to the website here as well as the guidance document, and you can also download all of the required documents here as well. And we'll go to those in a second, and we do this on this main screen. So first, you just want to get ready to submit a champion. So we only ask for the name and the institution. to begin with to create a profile. We want to make it very, very, very straightforward. And so once you've done that, you are able to get started. So hitting get started allows you to create a nomination form. You are allowed to create 2 nomination forms because you're allowed to nominate up to 2 fellows. So we'll go ahead and get started there. I'm not going to actually fill out the form. I just wanted you to see what it looks like. So here's the nomination form. And here, once you've completed all items in this form, you do want to hit submit. So you can either hit submit here when you're done with it, or you have the opportunity to hit submit when you mark complete here. Then an option for submit comes up at the end. And again, it's a very, very straightforward form. We've also linked it here as well, all of the information that you need. And so if you click it, it opens up in a new tab here with the fellowship program information. Same thing with the guidance document. The required documents is a download. So if I click this, they'll all just download to my computer, but that's what this one is. And so you'll be able to have all of the documents. So yeah, pretty basic nomination form. So you tell us who the nominee is. All of the fields are required. The title, their organization affiliation, their email address, and then the discipline representative of the nomination or multiple. And then here, it's the champion section, name of champion A, B, same type of thing. And then the CV of the champion, same with B, CV of champion. And then we have the diverse intelligences statement. This really is to explain your connection to DI and your understanding of the DI initiative and aims. And this should be both. So if there's only one of the 2 champions that has a connection to DI, then you would say that if you both have connections to DI, you can say that this can include things like, you know, I attended a DI summit before, I was an instructor for DISI, I've gotten a grant from the Templeton Rural Charity Foundation, I've reviewed DI proposals before, anything that makes you feel that you are connected to DI and you understand DI. And then we have your mentor statement. This really is to explain the rationale for the dyad. Why are you and this person pairing together to nominate this person? And why do you think that this pair will succeed? We'd also ask you to briefly discuss your mentorship style. Then we have most things being just uploads. So we have a nomination statement, which is really just, I would say, almost like a letter of recommendation or a letter of endorsement that would be written jointly by the champions. And then the mentorship agreement. These forms, we provided the documentation that goes through more instructions. So you can open those up and look, and they give you further instructions. If you have any questions about them, please feel free to shoot us an email. But we've tried our best to make it as self-explanatory as possible. And then the nomination packet. The nominee section these are documents that are provided by the nominee to the champion so that they can submit them on their behalf. And these include their CV, a leadership statement, a research statement, and then a statement of interest in the fellowship and a pair reference letter. For the pair reference letter, we would say somebody that you consider a pair. So even if, you know, life happens, you both may have, your paths may have been a bit different. Like somebody may already be full professor, or they may have left academia and decided that they wanted to go to industry or any of that. If they were somebody who would, like, let's say somebody who was doing your PhD with you, or somebody who, you know, were a postdoc, or somebody you ended up meeting and collaborating with early in your career, somebody who really can talk to the journey of the nominee and can really give us an understanding of what they see as somebody who's has been through a similar career stage with this person, how they know this person and how they support them, or how they think they would be a good fit for this, if that makes sense. And then lastly, there's the proposed research plan, which really is going to talk about, like, what do you want to do in this fellowship and how does that relate to the themes of the Diverse Intelligences Initiative? And so this is it. It's a very, very simple form to complete. We don't want to make it onerous because at this point, it really is just kind of like a letter of intent stage and not a full grant proposal. So we did our best to try and make it as simple, as easy as we could. And then once you're done, you just close it all, mark complete. And yeah, and then you can go back and you can do and add your second. You can add another one here. So you can add your second nominee if you want to nominate up to 2 people. And so that is it for my walkthrough. I'm going to close all of these out. And yeah, so what we really wanted to do with this is we really wanted to have an extended Q&A to really answer any questions that you may have, any of those yes, but questions, any of like, this seems right, but I'm not entirely sure because I have this scenario and this is my situation. And so we are really here now to open up the floor and answer any questions you have. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen and go into the Q&A. And if anybody else has any questions, feel free to pop them in there or in the chat. I hope that this was helpful and useful to you. It is being recorded and we will send it out once everything's done and we fix it up. We will send it out to everybody. So if somebody's missed it and you know they have questions, you can point them in this direction. You can point them to the frequently asked questions. And also you can always just shoot us an email at diverseintelligences@templetonroyalcharity.org. And so with that, I will stop sharing and we will start addressing questions. Okay, so in the Q&A, preliminary budgets are required during the application phase, but not yet during the nomination. Yes. So you don't actually need to give us any type of budget in nomination. The only thing that we need is to really understand the type of work that you're interested in doing. Does an independent fellow come into the UK and Europe system count as an equivalent of an assistant professor? I am not sure. I have to look that up because I feel like in my head, my understanding of an independent fellow is more like the equivalent of a research professor, and less like, so let me I want to say no, because I feel like a research fellow is similar to a research professor, whereas a lecturer is similar to an assistant professor. So I'm leaning towards no. Could you shoot me an email and let me, so that I can confirm that? I will have to do a bit of research, but my understanding is I think it's a no. I didn't understand if the nominee that is an assistant professor, associate professor at one institution can do the fellowship. Yes. So the fellowship will actually be based at whatever institution the fellow is at, the nominee is at. So what this means is that the assistant professor owns the grant. So if they're at Oxford, even though their mentors may be at the University of Georgia and Australian National University, it will live at whatever institution the fellow is at. So it's not like, oh, the fellowships are all here and everybody can be anywhere else. No, it's a grant, and the grant will be signed and contracted with the nominee's legal organization. I hope that makes sense. How detailed should the research proposal for the purpose of nomination be? It should not be too detailed at all. It actually should only be about 2 pages of information. Please do not provide much more than that. We really want to, and we can look, let me pull it up, but we can look at very quickly. We can look at the instructions. All right, so I will pull up the instructions for pretty much all of them really quickly. Share my screen again. Okay, yeah, so the proposed research plan template really should have what is the aim of the proposed research and why it's important. You will describe the main activities and then specific questions you'd like to answer, proposed methodologies, and areas that you think you would like to collaborate with others on, since we do have this sub-award process. So it should be no more than 2 pages. Again, nomination statement instructions are provided. And so these are all in the zip as separate documents, your mentorship plan, leadership statement, research statement, statement of interest. So all this information is provided to you once you start looking at things. Okay, next question we have, do you have a tentative estimates, expectations of what fraction of nominees would be chosen? We will probably, so add finalists, we're going to pick 4 to 5 finalists in the end. We will down select to 10 to 12 people will be down selected to be interviewed by the selection committee. I don't know what the estimates are going to be because I don't know how many nominations we're going to get. If we only get 20 nominations, then, your chances are really high. If you get like 100, then it goes down. So I can't really answer that right now, but we're expected that you're going to have about 10 to 12 people that are going to be down selected for 4 to 5 to be selected. Is there a list catalog of, no, so there is no list or catalog of potential mentors associated with DI. What we would recommend is you can look at our website to see who have been PIs before on our grants, our DI grants. If you've been involved in DISI, the Diverse Intelligence Summer Institute, you can go on their website and look at who have been alum or instructors there. And you can just, if you've ever been to a summit. So the idea is that if you are aware of the community, or the community is aware of you, that it should be able to happen organically. But we didn't create a list. We didn't do that because we needed permission to create a list and ask these people if they want to be contacted. So we were just like, figure it out. You mentioned that the nomination statement is a joint document. Is the entire champion nomination a joint document? Or are there things like, yeah, so I don't know if this still needs to be entered after going through the portal. But yeah, no, it's not all joint. A lot of them are joint documents, but there are things that are like, a lot of the nominee things are single documents that only the nominee works on. And then the mentorship, anything that's about the two champions should be joint efforts. Again, if one champion wants to write the DI statement and just send it to the other champion for approval, that's fine. I don't know what's going to happen, who submits what, who works on what. So I really can't tell you what to do because I can't enforce it. But yeah, it doesn't have to be everything needs to be done together. You're welcome. If I understand correctly, only one champ. Yes. Yes. No. So for the second part, so you can't, yeah, correct. You can't submit 2 nominations as mentor A and then also be mentor B on somebody. No, you can't do that. And the reason that we say this is because we want to be mindful of capacity. So what happens if you are just a good picker and you pick 3 people that are chosen for these fellowships? Now that's 3 different fellows that you have to mentor. And we just felt like that's asking a bit much. I mean, of course, we can say we shouldn't be able to say what anybody's capacity is, but we did in this instance. So we feel like 2 is the max that you should be able to mentor. So yes, if you're mentor A on 2, you can't be mentor B on somebody. And if you're mentor A on 1 and mentor B on 1, you can't be in anybody else. It's only 2. Can you apply if you're currently not employed by an institution? This is a hard one. I would say no. I'd say no, because we're not entirely sure. Like, I mean, if you're able to, and you're in talks of having, if you're already like on the job market and you have interviews and things like that, and you expect to be in place by the time you make decisions in April, if you think that you're going to be employed by April, then go ahead and apply. By the March 4th deadline, then that's fine. But if you're not sure that you're going to be employed by April, then the answer will have to be no. Just because, one, you're not currently an assistant professor, and you don't have a legal institution for which we would have to contract with. Sorry. Thanks for clarifying. I don't think we're going to give any preference. So we're not going to give preference to 3 people who are part of the community, or 2 people who are part of the community, or just 1 person who's a part of the community. We would like to see that. And so we encourage people to like stretch their networks. But if it turns out that, 2 people who are a part of DI have a fellow who's also been involved in DI that they think is a really, really good fit, I would not want to punish that. What we would hope then is that the fellow would then want to stretch further on. And when it comes to the sub-awardees, they will try to then extend the network. But yeah, we will not be given preference to extending the community in this way. No, it doesn't matter who is mentor A versus mentor B. There's no difference for us. It's just who feels like filling out the form. So it doesn't matter. You like mentor A and mentor B could actually make up a dummy email that either of them have access to and log in and do it together if they want. You don't have any, it doesn't matter who's A or B. I should have used like dash and star or something so you could tell that there is no hierarchy there. But yeah, there's no hierarchy in that way. And yeah, both hold equal effort and investment in the mentorship project and stuff. No, we're not trying to balance 4 or 5 fellows across the 4 topics. It really will be which proposals are the best. So it won't be like 1, 1, 1, 1, and then a star 1. So if we do have like, let's say 3 that everybody feel are great and they're all recognizing intelligences, then so be it. Our hope though is that because they're interdisciplinary, you will kind of see some cross work in them. So what could be cool is somebody who's interested in natural intelligences and also interested in AI decide that they want to do a project that's looking at both AI work as well as animal work, which could be really cool. So there is ways for you to kind of transcend across the themes if you want. And I think that would be really, really encouraged. But there is nothing to say that we're going to try and keep them, even across the themes. Does a research associate count as equivalent to? I think it depends on where you're based. So in the US, a research associate would not account. Like that is not an associate, assistant, or associate professor. I think there may be in other countries that they have like a different type of ranking where you can be like research associate tier 4 or whatever it is, and then that's in their opinion is considered an assistant professor. But if you're based in the US and you're a research associate, that does not count as an assistant or associate professor. Yeah, so the initial nominations will be reviewed. So we have a 2-step process. So the initial review and down selection will be internal. And then the final selection of the fellows will be done by a committee of both internal and external people. And then in the second phase, once you get to the full proposal, and you've been selected as a finalist, then that will go out to experts in whatever particular field the research is in as well. So there will be like a 3-step review process before we select before the grant starts. Can you kindly clarify? No, you have to have already had a PhD. You already have to be an assistant professor. So somebody who is a PhD student and a research fellow would not qualify for this opportunity. But look out for other things. We're really trying to do a lot of stuff. So the pair reference does not have to connect somebody who's has connections to DI. And it would be preferable for it to be somebody who's at the same level as like an assistant or associate professor. But let's say you're an assistant professor and you had a friend because they're in a completely different field, but has been, a part of your academic journey so far. They're already at full professor, but they have like the same amount of research time. I would say I would count that person as somebody who could be a pair reference. So like you have the same number of years of academia behind you. I think that would be a good way to explain it. Preferable assistant associate, but if they're a full professor with the same amount of research time, then or like academic time, I would accept that. Yeah, so we actually we would prefer that the seed funding not go to your mentor. So we are providing a bit of honoraria to the mentors. I mean, of course, if the mentor does have a great idea, and they have somebody in their lab who they think would be good to do it, sure. But it really is to establish new collaborations. I think in the requirements, it says that at least half of the funding has to go towards some type of new new collaboration being funded. It's somewhere in there. I don't know the exact wording, but we do recommend that some of it go to new collaborations. Can you comment on how? Yeah, I think so. We have quite a number of philosophers in the diverse intelligences community. A lot of them are like philosophy of mind or like philosophy of science and things like that. So it is possible to have a philosophy project or like philosophers who are like working in AI, all of these types. So philosophy definitely could work. History, I feel like it could work. I can't think of any people off the top of my head who are historians who are in the Diverse Intelligences Initiative, but we don't limit based on topic area. So once your research project aligns with the 4 themes, it doesn't matter what the discipline is. Yeah. So you're... Okay, so this next question is, can a nominee come from an Eastern European institution but do the fellowship at the Champions Institution with better research facilities? I mean, sure, I don't see any issue why not. I think that would I think that would be a discussion that we could have, but I think that would be very possible. That would be very possible for us to do that. So you could technically hold the grant at another institution where you're the PD but not employed by the legal organization. Yes, that's allowed. You can do that. Will there be will there be preference given to people at non-US? Yes, I'm not gonna lie. There will be. So we want them to apply, and we will be considering them. At the end of the day, it'll be that maybe the final decision will be made down to the committee, but it will be noted because we do want to encourage and build capacity of researchers in the majority world. So there will be a slight preference given to people from non-US, EU, and UK institutions, but that will be one piece that's weighted, and it will have to so they will also have to have, you know, all the other things. So your research statement has to be good, and not saying that it won't be good, but the preference will be on the final selection, if that makes sense. So there won't be any preference in like the down selection. The down selection will be all based on you know, the information given to us blindly. So we won't even look at the institutions at that point. And it won't be until that it's before the final committee that would even come into play, as in like what institutions are they at, and then that will be discussed. Okay. We still have a couple more minutes. So if anybody else has any more questions, we can drop them in the Q&A really quick. And then if not, again, this will be made available. Frequently answered questions are there. Hopefully our guidance document provides a whole lot of really useful and helpful information. I think once you read through that, a lot of your questions will do that. And then we will have, and then you can always email us. And then how would you consider DEI issues in fellow selection? I'm not entirely sure what you mean by DEI issues. Can you expand on that a little bit for me, please? We don't have a formal DEI policy, but we can fully say that we are super committed to diversity, equity, and inclusion at the foundation. We are, first of all, not based in Western Europe or actually in any weird country. We're not based in those countries. And we are one of the few foundations that fund directly into the majority world. So I think that equity and inclusion and diversity are really, really important parts of the foundation, are really important in the type of work that we fund and support. So I'm not entirely sure what you mean by consider DEI issues, but we do. And I just meant, would you count increasing? Yeah, I do. I do think that, yeah, I think increasing diversity is something that we do care about, and that's really important to us, and it would be a benefit in selecting the fellows. Yes. thank you for asking that, actually. All right. I'll give it 2 more minutes to see if anybody else comes up with any more questions. And then if there aren't any more, then we can give everybody back a couple minutes of their time. All right. I think I'm gonna call it. Okay, wait, no, yeah, I think I'm gonna call it. So again, thank you all for attending this webinar. I hope that it was useful to you, that I was able to answer some questions that you had, that I was able to really, walk you through the process. And if you have any questions, feel free to email us at diverseintelligences@templetonworldcharity.org. It is found on, Sherelle just put it in the chat. Thank you very much. So we just put it in the chat, but it's also on the webpage. It's in the guidance document. We are open to any questions that you may have. We're happy to answer them all. And we're very grateful for your interest in this fellowship opportunity, especially those who are champions or are interested in being champions. We're very, very excited for you to be interested in this, because we want you to help cultivate the next generation of DI researchers. So thank you all so much. Thank you for attending, and I hope you have a good rest of your day and week. Bye.